Hey, hey, you know what time it is. Woo! Get into it! Get into it! Yes! We are back, lovelies. We are back with Storytime with Chris. And I'm joined by my wonderful friend on musical accompaniment. We got live music for this reading of Storytime. And as always, you don't have to watch these videos when they go live. You're more than welcome to watch them in your downtime, nap time, max relax and chillaxing time, break time. Anytime you want to hear a magical voice bring you highly animated stories of fantasy, sci-fi, adventure, and many, many more in between. And if you haven't already done so, please go to the YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe. It only takes less than 3 seconds. And no, I don't do this for profit. This is a passion project I've been doing now for, as of this year, 3 years of Storytime with Chris, to get people, kids as well as adults, excited about the magic of literature. All right, we are back with Lloyd Alexander's The Castle of Llyr. And last time we were here, not only did Taran and Fflewddur and Gurgi find Prince Rune, but they also found a mysterious hut where there was a tenant who was making potions of enlargement. So basically, children, what that means is he was making a concoction that could help you grow big. So if you've ever seen the Marvel movies, you know how Ant-Man can get really, really big. He can grow to 60 feet tall. Kind of like that, but magic. So we're about to see a very fearsome and surprising guest in this next chapter. Chapter 7, The Lair of Lion. Taran's blade went spinning from his grasp, and he threw himself to the ground to escape the onslaught. In a powerful spring, the creature passed over his head. The great beast screamed with fury as the companions scattered in terror to all parts of the hut. Amid the confusion of tumbling stools and benches, and as the dry leaves rose in a whirlwind, Taran saw that Fflewddur had jumped to a tabletop, and in doing so had plunged into the spiderweb which now covered him from head to foot. Prince Rune, having tried vainly to climb up the chimney, crouched in the ashes of the hearth. Gurgi had made himself as small as he could and pressed into a corner, where he squealed and yelped, "Help! Oh, help! Save Gurgi's poor tender head from pawings and clawings!" "It's Lion!" cried Taran. "You can be sure it is!" Fflewddur shouted. "Now that I see her, I quite believe glue was gobbled up and digested long ago." A long, wavering growl rose from the creature's throat, and she hesitated a moment as if undecided where to attack. Taran, sitting up on the ground, saw for the first time what the fearsome animal looked like. Though Glue had written of Lion's growth, Taran had never imagined a mountain cat so big. The animal stood as tall as a horse, but leaner and longer. Her tail alone, thicker than Taran's arm, seemed to take up much of the room in the hut. Heavily and sleekly furred, the cat's body was golden tawny, flecked with black and orange. Her belly was white with black splotches. Curling tufts sprouted from the tips of her ears, and shagging handfuls of fur curved at her powerful jaws. Her long whiskers twitched. Her baleful yellow eyes darted from one companion to another. Like that. Just had to try to illustrate how she was looking. She was scoping for a meal. Judging from the white points of her teeth, glittering as her lips drew back in a snarl, Taran was certain Lion could gulp down anything that suited her fancy. The giant cat swung her great head toward Taran and moved lithely across the ground. As she did, Fflewddur unsheathed his sword. Cobwebs and all, he jumped from the table. And why am I squinting? Because I don't have my glasses on. That would help. He jumped from the table and shouted at the top of his voice and brandished the weapon. In an instant, Lion spun around. The lash of her tail sent Taran headlong once more. Even before Fflewddur could strike, Lion's heavy paw flickered through the air. Its motion was too rapid for Taran's eyes to follow. He saw only the astonished bard's weapon fly up and clatter into the doorway, while Fflewddur himself went head over heels. With a snort and what seemed a shrug of her rippling shoulders, Lion turned again to Taran. She crouched, thrust out her neck, and her whiskers trembled as she patted closer to him. Taran, not daring to move a muscle, held his breath. Lyon circled him, making snuffling noises. From the corner of his eye, Taran glimpsed the bard trying to climb to his feet and warned Fluter to stay still. "She's more curious than hungry," Taran whispered. "Otherwise she would have clawed us to pieces by now. Don't move. She may go away."
"Glad to hear you say that," replied Fluter in a choked voice. "I'll remember it while I'm being gobbled up. It'll be a consolation to me."
"I don't think she's hungry," said Taran. "If she's been out hunting during the night, she must have eaten her fill."
"So much the worse for us," said Fluter. "She'll keep us here until her appetite comes back. I'm sure this is the first time she's been lucky enough to have 4 dinners ready and waiting in her lair." He sighed and shook his head. "In my own realm, I was putting out scrapes for birds and other creatures, but I never thought I'd see the day when I'd be putting myself out, if you take my meaning." At last, Lyon settled herself across the doorway. She moistened a huge paw with her tongue and began passing it over her ear. Engrossed in her task, she seemed to have forgotten the companions were there. Despite his fear, Taran could not help staring at her in fascination. Power filled even Lyon's gentlest movements. Beneath the golden hair glowing in the sunlight from the door, she could hear her gristling mighty muscles. Lyon, he was certain, could be swift as Melonlass, but he knew also she could be deadly. And though she did not appear ill-disposed toward the companions, her mood might change in an instant. Taran cast about desperately for a way to freedom, or at least a means of regaining their weapons. "Fluter," he whispered, "make a little noise. Not too much, but enough so that Lyon will look at you." "How's that?" asked the bard, puzzled. "Look at me. She'll do that soon enough. I'm thankful she hasn't yet got around to it."
However, he scraped his boots across the floor. Lyon immediately pricked up her ears and turned her eyes to the bard. Crouching, Taran moved silently toward Lyon, his hand outstretched, his fingers cautiously reaching for his sword, which lay close to Lyon's paws. Quick as lightning, the mountain cat struck at him and he fell back. Had her claws been unsheathed, Taran realized with a sinking feeling Lyon would have gained his head in addition to his weapon.
"No chance, my friend," said Fluter. "She's faster than any of us."
"We can be hindered no longer," Taran cried. "Time is precious."
"Oh, indeed it is," the bard answered, "and gets more precious the less of it we have. I'm beginning to envy Princess Eilonwy. Mag may be a fool, villainous spider and all such as that, and when it comes to teeth and claws, I should vastly prefer going against him instead of Lyon. No, he sighed. I'm quite content to stretch my last moments as far as they'll reach."
Taran, in despair, pressed his hands against his forehead. "Prince Rune," he called softly after a moment, as Lyon began passing a paw over her whiskers. Stand up quickly. See if you can make your way to the broken corner of the hut. If so, climb out and run for your life." The Prince of Mona nodded, but no sooner had he risen to his feet than Lyon growled a warning. Prince Rune blinked and quickly sat down again. Lyon glared at the companions.
"Great Llyr," whispered Fluter. "Don't rouse her up any more. It'll only bring out her appetite. She's not going to let us out of here. That's one thing for sure."
"But we must escape," Taran urged. "What if we all rushed up on her? One of us at least might get past."
Fluter shook his head. "After she's settled with the rest of us," he answered, "she'd have no trouble catching up with that lone survivor. Let me think.
Frowning, he reached behind him and unslung his harp. Lyon, still growling, watched intently, but made no further move.
"It always calms me," explained Fluter, putting the instrument against his shoulder and passing his hands over the harp strings. "I don't know whether it will stir up any ideas, but when I'm playing, at least things don't seem quite so dismal."
As a soft melody rose from the harp, Lyon began making a peculiar noise.
"Great Llyr," cried Fluter, stopping immediately. "I almost forgot about her. It may be calming for me, but who can tell what it might do to a mountain cat?"
Lyon now voiced a strange, pleading yowl, but seeing Fluter about to sling the harp on his shoulder once again, her tone changed and sharpened. She growled menacingly.
"Fluter," Taran whispered, "play on!" "You can't think she enjoys it," replied the bard. "I should find that hard to believe. Why, even human beings have been known to say hard words about my music. You can't expect a mountain cat to like it any better."
Nevertheless, he plucked the strings once more. This time there was no doubt in Taran's mind that Lyon was fascinated by the harp. The great body of the cat slackened, her muscles seemed to uncoil, and Lyon blinked peacefully. To make certain, Taran asked Fluter to stop. As soon as the bard did so, Lyon turned restless. Her tail lashed and her whiskers trembled with what could only be vexation. As soon as the bard played again, Lyon put her head to one side, ears forward, and gazed fondly at him.
Yes, yes, Gergie cried. Do not leave off hummings and drummings. Believe me, the bard answered fervently, I haven't the slightest intention.
Lyon folded her paws under her deep, speckled chest and began making a sound like a swarm of droning bees. Her mouth curved in a smile and the tip of her tail moved gently to the music. "That's the answer!" cried Fluter, springing to his feet. "Fly, friends, while she's quiet." No sooner had he risen than Lyon, too, jumped up, furious, and the bard sank back, playing for dear life. "Your music calms her," Taran cried in alarm, "but she still won't let us go." "Not exactly," said the bard, passing his fingers rapidly across the strings. "I doubt if the rest of you will have any trouble. Alas," he added ruefully, "I fear I'm the one she wants to keep." And that is where we will end for today. Music, children, is the food of the soul. Music is what changes the world, changes minds, elevates cultures and communities, and everybody everywhere has their own spin and style on what music is to their communities or even to the individual. Music is a universal tool that we use to entertain, to communicate, to bring levity and love and laughter. Music is magic. Just like reading. Building your own world through a few notes, a couple of arpeggios, some beautiful chords to make a medley that will let you swim into another world. And I hope you enjoyed our reading today. I'll see you later.